live about now.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Hump Day Hangout 359. So almost 360 hours of us coming to you every Wednesday for an hour, sometimes more, and answering questions that nobody else will, or looking for answers where nobody else will. We're glad to have you here. Glad you're joining us, and welcome. And I don't see Chris must have dropped off.
I'm still here.
No, I'm saying I don't see Chris. So
Okay.
Bradley, any announcements? Anything you want to say?
Well, I just wanted to talk briefly. Hold on a minute. Let me get the screen back. I just finished upload. Guys, if you're not seeing it, you won't see it. I was going to say refresh the page. You should see it. Anyway, here comes Chris again. I was having internet trouble. We had a great POFU Live event last weekend, guys. We had the VIP event was Friday, and then we had 2 full days, Saturday and Sunday, of training with our guest speakers, the Semantic Mastery crew. It turned out to be really, really good. We had 40 people attend this year, which was the most that we've had yet. Probably because it was virtual, makes it easier, right, to get there. But it was great. We had a really, really good time. I think Marco can talk about this briefly as well, but the VIP event was just like a virtual beer tasting, which is what we did last year as well. So it was just the first hour, and that was from 3 p.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern. But we stayed on, just having the VIP members just stayed on the chat and just shoot the shit, really, and discuss all kinds of stuff until 7 p.m. So it was a total 4-hour event, 3 hours of just straight discussion. It was a lot of fun. We got into a lot of different types of topics, not just marketing stuff, and it was really fun, and I enjoyed it very much. Marco, what do you think?
Well, the beer tasting wasn't virtual. Everybody had beer or
right,
whatever
virtual
beverage they chose. For me, I had well, it says 25 years on the bottle, but it's actually been a 36-year-old bottle of rum that had been resting and just getting all that luscious goodness in it, that beautiful amber color. It was just delicious. And we got to talk. We had Keith was with us, and I mean, it was informal. There was no training, and it was just talking. But it was also like the special thing about that is that we're actually guiding him. We're trying to set him in the direction where we think he should be going. But as I mentioned during my presentation, once you have all of the information, it's then up to him to write his own book, and I'm not going to drop the F-bomb, and to tell his own damn story, man. Otherwise, you're just living somebody else's life, or you're living vicarious, or you're just following somebody else's footsteps, somebody else's dreams. At some point, you have to take the reins and you have to make it yours. And it was just a fantastic time. I had a really enjoyable time. I recommend for people to attend, especially that VIP event, which is, I think, the best part of it all. Not to say that the presentations weren't awesome in and of themselves. I mean, even which I never did before in any of the previous 3 POFUs, I've never given anything away, but I went and showed people some nasty stuff that they can do with their GMBs. And so it was just a fantastic time.
Yeah, it was great. And I think we had a really good weekend event as well. I've got a lot of really good comments and feedback from it, and it was just exciting. It was a good time, guys. We look forward to doing this. So we're a year away from the next one, and we'll do it again. So we got just a couple other slight announcements that we're going to get to. I'm going to turn it over to Marco here in just a minute. We got some pretty big news to shake. This kind of going to shake up the Semantic Mastery world a bit. We're going to hand that off to Marco in a minute. But we want you guys to make sure that you understand that what we're about to share is kind of we're all on the same page here. There's no animosity between any of us or anything like that. So if you're expecting drama, you're going to be sorely mistaken, sorely disappointed. That's what I was trying to say. So Mark, I'm going to hand it over to you for a few.
Yeah, well, I'm a straight shooter. I mean what I say what I mean. My yes is yes, my no is no. And if there were drama, I would say it. But I mean, there's no other way to say it. I'm leaving semantic mastery. I'm not leaving SEO. I mean, if you have semantic mastery's affiliate links for what it is that I'm going to be doing, please share those for people to come and take a look. Because, all right, so let me back up and just share a little bit about it. I do so much. I have 3 young kids. First of all, one is about to be 13, the other one's about to be 10, and the other one's about to be 3, all in the same month here in October. I do consultation. I do consultation for some major companies around the world. So a lot of my virtual time is sometimes off hours here in Costa Rica, but it's the nature of becoming someone that people demand, where your time is in demand. I also do client work. I also do a lot of testing. I also do a lot of development. And of course, I do SEO and I do technical SEO, and I love breaking down Google to the bare essentials and showing people the math underneath it all. The problem that I was running into is that I felt that I just didn't have enough time to give semantic mastery and the commitments that were required of me from semantic mastery. So I had to just refocus everything and say, well, where can I be the most productive? How can I be the most productive and help people the most? And so what I decided, and along with Rob Beal, is that we're going to continue with Schema Tech. We're going to continue Schema because Schema is Google is going all to the way that you communicate with Google and where Google is going is through Schema. Content is also a big part of it, which we're also developing in Schema Tech. So we're developing the AI, next gen AI, by the way, not what everybody else is doing, but next gen AI, all to present the best entity for the bot, for what Google is looking for. Because the way that we see things going, this is what's going to win the game. And so we want to have people get there, to cut Google off at the pass, like we did before. We caught them coming here. We knew where they were going in 2011, 2012, when we started this nebulous thing that had yet to become semantic mastery. And so now I want to be able to give people the same thing. And so to be able to research and to be able to spend my time and to focus my time properly, and to also give my family time, I can't give semantic mastery the time that it requires of me, because I was doing Ask Marco Anything webinars, Hump Hangouts. I was doing the Syndication Academy webinars. I was doing calls. I was just supporting multiple Facebook groups. Those of you who know me, you know that I'm in there, and I can't do that anymore. Yeah. So I had to concentrate everything into what I felt was the most beneficial for me, and moving forward where I could really dig into and exploit Google the way that we did with RYS Academy. And then the way that we're doing now with Schema Tech. And those of you who don't know, I think we still have some beta spots available. Don't hold me to this, because I don't know. You guys know I'm not a marketer. Never have been, never will be. I'm not one of those cheesy guys who tries to sell you shit that doesn't work. Shit just to sell you shit. If there are, I mean, you're welcome. It's never going to be at that price point again, because we're just developing so much into it. We have a Python developer that's working on the AI. We have a JavaScript dev. We have some PHP. I mean, we have everything in there. We're investing a lot of time into that. We're investing money into that. And so that's where it is. And as Bradley said, there's no animosity. I don't hold any ill will towards anyone. I mean, we all have differing opinions, but that's fine. We're different people, and we are going to have different opinions about things. And if they clash, well, that's fine. This is the ridiculous thing, and what we talked about on Friday is that two people can disagree, but still go on after it's all said and done, and continue. All right, so talk to you tomorrow. All right, talk to you tomorrow. I'll see you later. We'll have a beer or whatever. We'll have another great conversation. doesn't have to be, I hate you, you hate me, let's kill each other if we see each other. No. And so that's how this is ending up. Chris is still, I mean, fantastic guy. Bradley's a good guy. I've come to know him. It's almost a decade that I've spent with Semantic Mastery. And Adam is great at what he does. It's just time for me to do other things, or to spend my time in what I feel is the best thing for me, for my family, and for the growing companies that we have, which are Schema Tech, and of course, I forgot to mention the store. The store, we're moving the MGYB store. We're rebranding so that everything goes under the Heavy Hitter brand. So we are going to continue the technical SEO part of that in the Heavy Hitter Club. That's where we're going to really delve into the math and break Google down to the bare essentials and show you that all of the shit that people tell you is there really isn't. You're welcome to come see what it's all about. And that's where I'm going to be. And with that, I'll turn it over to you and Chris.
Awesome. Thanks, man. And so I'm just going to say my side of piece real quick, and then I'm going to hand over to Chris to give his opinion or his words, his thoughts on this as well. But like Marco said, you know, and it's kind of heartbreaking for Marco to be leaving, because we have been, you know, him and I have really done, I think, a lot together over the years for Semantic Mastery and for this audience altogether, because we would back and forth. Marco and I were typically the ones that were doing the training, and we did them together for many, many years. And then we kind of separated and started doing separate stuff, but all using the same foundational stuff. Everything that Marco has developed over the last few years, I've integrated 100% into my methods. And I talked about this at POFU Live there was a period of about 2 years there where I really didn't do any kind of development of my own methods, occasionally, but very rarely, because I just followed whatever Marco and Rob said, and it worked. And there was really no reason for me to. And I was also running a real estate land flipping business for about 2 years during that time. And that had kind of taken over a lot of what kind of my desire and where my passion was really was working that business, and not so much the SEO stuff. But last year at POFU Live, Rob's presentation about schema stuff really sucked me back in and solidified my passion, or reignited my passion, I guess I should say, for SEO. And so since that time, I've been really kind of working within Semantic Mastery's foundational stuff, but also kind of developing some of my own stuff strictly for local, 100% local stuff. And so I've kind of developed some of my own additional methods and things that expand upon what Marco and Rob do, but are also separate and apart from what they do, because they do their thing for local one, and I'm kind of doing my own. So all that is to say that, you know, we have kind of we've diverged a bit, but we're still friends. We're still colleagues. We're still peers, so to speak. So, you know, there's no drama with this, guys. This is something that we've known about for a couple of months now, and we've been planning for it. We wanted to wait until after POFU Live to announce it publicly, which is why we're doing it now. We at Semantic Mastery, and I can speak for myself, but I can speak for Chris and Adam as well. We wish Marco and Rob the best. We're going to continue to promote Heavy Hitter Club and Schema Tech and the MGYB services, because it's an integral part of what I do. And there's no way that I can decouple from that, because it works, and it is what I've learned on and what I've built my business around are these methods. So there's, again, it's a good amicable split. We wish Marco and Rob the best. We know they will do well. And we hope that, you know, we can both grow our separate entities now. And I don't mean entity, but separate companies, essentially, you know, together and in tandem, so to speak. So anyway, again, Marco, we love you, buddy. We want you to know that. I've said that to you privately on Friday as well. And I want to say that publicly, you know, wish you guys the best. It's been a great ride for all these years. And, you know, we'll continue to discuss things and share ideas and all that kind of stuff and build each other's businesses. I know long into the future. So that was my piece. Chris, you want to say something?
Sure. Glad to be here today. Yeah, with the split of Marco, obviously, like we've been working for quite some time together. So like on one end, it's like he's leaving. At the same time, everybody is focusing on what he's best at. So like I think this is going to actually be the absolute best for everyone, and everyone will benefit. Like our clients, Marco, Bradley, Adam, me, Rob, and I always have to laugh actually. Like when people, especially in the SEO industry, there's always like this like huge drama, X is splitting up with Y and stuff. It's like always like a battlefield. Nothing like that is happening on our end. And as Bradley said, like don't expect that there's like a complete cutoff, right? So like I'm actually looking forward that there will be potential future projects that we're working together. There's also like the MGYP store and stuff that's still like going forward. And yeah, like things are pretty good. And yeah, it's good.
Right on.
So and
yeah, look in the emails. We'll be emailing people, giving them everything that's going on, the URLs, the new store URLs, so that we're still going to keep the basic, the foundational services that we offer are still going to be there. So the SEO Shield, link building, all of the things that we know work, all of the ways that we help you make Google your bitch are still going to be there.
Chris?
Yeah, there for everybody who is like wondering like what's happening on the semantic mastery end, there are really cool projects coming up on both ends. So like on the heavy hitter side and also on the semantic mastery side. So stay tuned. Especially if you're a mastermind member, there are a couple things coming up in the next weeks. So yeah, be excited about it.
Yeah. There's we got quite a bit. I'm going real heavy in the GMB training right now, just because I've my process that I've developed and that checklist that I've shared, which if you want to check it out, guys, you can go to gmbprocess.com and go get that for free. But that works incredibly well. I've used that across dozens of GMBs now and been able to get rankings in 90 days. I've recovered some that took a hit about 3 months ago now. But then I also have taken several new projects and ranked them in the 3-pack within 90 days, and not just, a small area, but, a large area for service area businesses. So it works really well. So I'm doing a lot of heavy training on that right now. And then also for semantic mastery, very soon we're going to be releasing kind of like the directory agency model training program, which is what I have found to be the most successful way to prospect, to get new clients into my business, or lead generation buyers, or lead service providers. So lead buyers for my lead generation assets by using a directory site. And I've built an entire business around that. And I've been working on that for almost a year now. And so right now I'm developing the training for that. So in the Semantic Mastery Mastermind, we're going to be launching the directory agency model training in a couple of months from now. I'm developing the training of it right now, but that's something you guys want to be on the lookout for. So again, I think this is, as Chris says, I truly believe that this is the best for all of us, because it allows me to kind of go in a direction that I want to go. It lets Marco and Rob go in a direction they want to go. And that therefore we're all able to better serve our audience, our members, right? If we just like we say to you guys all the time during Hump Day Hangouts and all the different webinars that we host, if you're spreading yourself too thin across too many projects or too many, marketing methods and things like that, and you never execute any one of them very well, right? And so this way we're able to focus more on what our strengths are and what we desire to do, what we really want to do, so that we can serve you guys better, our audience, our members, our students, whatever you want to call it. So again, I really think this is just is going to, again, when I first heard Marcus and he first announced to us that he was going to leave, I was like, oh man. And it was heartbreaking, but within about 24 hours, and after sleeping on it and thinking about it, and I prayed about it, to me, it was like, what, I think this is actually going to open up some doors for all of us where we can all succeed in and kind of go in the direction that we each want to go in. And so again, we wish everybody the best. And that includes Rob. Rob's not here right now, but obviously Rob's a big part of it as well. So thank you, Marco, for your candor today. And if anybody has any questions about that, they can post it below and we'll try to get to them. We got a wall of text to get through though first. So can we get into questions now, guys? Are we good?
Let's do it.
All right,
Yep.
let's do it. I'm gonna grab the screen. All right, so the first one is from Friendly Web. And this one, I saw this question earlier, so I posted a reply below. And this is kind of one thing that I've done recently for some projects that had some over optimized anchor text. So I'm going to read the question and then I'll give you a quick and easy answer I think that works well for me. Hey guys, I've just taken over an SEO, or excuse me, I've just taken over SEO on a local business client site after they were working with another SEO. They have some massively over optimized anchor text with location type anchors at 62% of their overall anchors. And so when he says location type anchors, I'm assuming you mean like exact match or what I would call target anchors, which are topic plus location modifier, right? So keyword, so either product or service plus city name or location modifier. That's what I call a target anchor. A topic anchor would be like keyword only, right? Like product or service only without the location modifier. So if that is correct in interpreting what he means by location type anchors, that would be what I call a target anchor. Okay. So they also have probably 4 times as many links running directly to their money site as their competitors, but aren't ranking fantastically. What is the best way to dilute anchor text to get more branded naked anchors in their link profile without adding to the huge amount of already existing links? And so I replied below, but I'm going to announce this for everybody else too. Personally, what I would do in a situation like that, which is what I like to do with my projects, like new projects, right? Or, you know, either like brand new assets that have been set up or even taking over existing assets, is I like to use press releases specifically for this reason. Not just any press releases, press advantage press releases. Okay. Because that's what we've been using for years and years and years, which you can either get a subscription through our link to, so if you're using a lot of press releases, or you can go buy them. By the way, are you guys still doing MG press releases in MGYB, Marco?
We will be doing press releases. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Because I knew that I wasn't sure if you were still selling one-offs right now, but so for me personally, what I like to do is start off projects, and I'm not recommending this to anybody. I'm just telling you my strategy is to start off projects with publishing one press release using a brand anchor linked back to the location landing page or the money site, whatever. And then another one with a naked URL, so a URL anchor. And what that does is it seeds or pillows the site with brand and URL anchors right off the bat. Remember, all I do is local. So what I found in my research over the last several months in studying backlink, now doing backlink analysis of a lot of competitor, local organic competitor sites and such, is that it's generally 60 to 80% brand/URL anchors. I consider that the same kind of anchor text category. And I talked about this at POFU Live, but usually it's 15 to 35% miscellaneous anchors, which another term for that would be generic. And then the remaining 5 to 15% of anchors are split typically between target anchors, which is keyword plus location modifier, or what I call empty or frame anchors, which are essentially live frames or image links that don't contain alt text, that sort of thing. So I found that ratio to be almost 100% consistent. Like probably 80% of the local business search results that I look at, they fall into that kind of typical anchor text ratio range, right? Which is, like I said, about 60 to 80% brand/URL anchors. So for that reason, I like to start most of my projects right off the bat with a press release published with the brand anchor, and then a press release published with a URL anchor, because that puts the brand/URL anchor text ratios up real high to begin with. And then I start seeding, like adding in additional type of links through the tier 1 entity assets and building links specifically from Web 2 properties, SEO Shield properties, all the entity assets we set up, where I can manipulate the anchor text ratios to start pushing in some of those target anchors that I was just talking about with location modifiers. So that's what I've been doing. And so what I would do in a situation like what Friendly Web is talking about would be to go publish a press release and use a brand anchor or a URL anchor or both. And so you might have to publish a couple of press releases, and that's to change those ratios to where you can start to lower the ratio for the target anchors and start to add in more brand/URL anchors. And then also you can do the same thing with press releases and then just use generics or miscellaneous anchor types if you need to increase the ratios on that side as well. So that works well for me. Again, I don't recommend you do this with any sort of press release, because there's a lot of press release services out there that distribute their press releases to a lot of shitty sites. and it can end up becoming like toxic backlinks back to your money site, which is why we typically recommend build linking from press releases to tier one entity assets. But in a case like this, and what I mean by that is using press releases to power up tier one entity assets or SEO shield assets, as opposed to linking directly to the money site. But in a case like this, that is one way that you could very quickly manipulate your anchor text ratios to increase the brand URL anchors, which is much better, and decrease the overall anchor text ratio from target anchors. So that's my piece. What would you do, Marco?
I would totally order the SEO shield, man. SEO shield tier one branded, spread out that brand so that you're cushioning now, that you're changing the percentages, build links, do an iframe gig with link building into that iframe gig, branded. Because this is your SEO shield initially is your branded stack. And so that's how I would go ahead and get that, start changing those percentages that you're talking about. And through all of that link building, through the SEO shield and through the tier one branded and powering it up, you're going to affect directly what it is that might be causing that to hang in there where it's not ranking the way that it's supposed to. It's simply because you haven't done a good enough job of creating that relationship between the keywords that is too focused on location. And I'm going to take location to mean the city rather than the brand plus the keyword in the set. The keyword set, which is what the SEO shield and everything that accompanies the SEO shield, including the link building that you should do, and including the embed runs plus link building that you should do. That's exactly what it does. It helps the brand get associated with the keywords in the keyword set for whatever niche that you're in. And I found that it to me, and I'm going to say it once again, local is relative. And what we do, which is we go after the math, we go after making our entity better than anybody else's. It doesn't matter whether it's local or whether it's global, because it will affect it directly, so that then you could then begin to focus on location and the money keywords, because now you've associated everything initially. That's how I would approach that.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I didn't mention that. I mean, to me, it was understood. It's a given, but I forget that sometimes there's people here that have never been here. But an SEO shield is just foundational shit. If you're on a Hump Day Hangouts, you should already have an SEO shield, and if you don't, you need to go get one. So thank you, Marco, for your opinion on that. So Rugg says, Bradley and team would love your advice on the best process to create content at scale with outsourcers. We probably need to create 300 or 400 pieces of content over the next year or so. Some of these would be rephrased for local cities. How would you improve this? And I'll go ahead and read through these, because this is actually a really good, proposed process here. And then I'll expand on, give you a couple of additional maybe pointers or something. But I think we've got a fairly good idea here, in my opinion, of a process. So number one is to work from a list of clustered keywords for each piece of content and its variations. These clusters could come from a tool like Surfer SEO, which, by the way, the Surfer SEO content planner, it's good for developing content clusters. I found that, in fact, I mean, again, I thought I was going to get rid of Surfer SEO because I like outranking.io, but I really like the content planner inside of Surfer SEO. So I'm literally keeping that tool right now, mainly for that reason. I like how it helps me to develop content clusters very quickly. So, and then I usually go into outranking to start drafting the articles, build the outline and everything else, and then flesh the outline out and everything. So anyway, I think that's a great strategy. Number one, Surfer's a great tool for that. Number two is use tools like Jarvis AI combined with Surfer SEO to help write 1,000 to 1,200 word blog posts with those keywords. Yeah, you certainly can. Jarvis is good for fleshing content out very quickly. If you only want one tool, like I said, I kind of like outranking.io because it has an AI writing assistant built into it that will actually reference the SERP results to spit out content that is based upon the topical relevance of the SERP results, where in Jarvis, you can't do that. So, but Jarvis is great for like filler content. Like, and I don't mean that to sound like it's not a good tool, because you can optimize the content that it spits out. But there are times where I'm using outranking to flesh out an outline with the AI writing assistant built into it, but it doesn't really give me the as much like content for that, you know, for the subheading or whatever that I'm trying to fill out. So sometimes I'll still end up in Jarvis and fleshing it out a little bit further. So it's another tool that I'm continuing to keep. Plus Jarvis has some great templates that are just hard to beat. So again, that's another really good strategy, using Jarvis with the SEO Surfer integration to produce articles. Number 3, rephrase posts with the most competitive keyword clusters in the unique articles for different local areas using a tool like Quillbot or Phrase, but mix in different unused keywords from the cluster. Only a fraction of the keywords in the clusters are recommended per post by Surfer's tool. Again, both great tools. I have a subscription to Phrase plus the AI or the SEO add-on, which is really cool. Phrase has got a great outline builder as well. Quillbot is great for rephrasing stuff. If you have the Quillbot Premium, you can rephrase up to 10,000 characters at a time. And there's the different settings now: formal, creative, shorten, expand, like all those different types of things in Quillbot Premium that really help. There's one tool here that hasn't been mentioned that I tagged you or mentioned you, Rugs, below in a comment, that I just recently started using that is really good too, especially in a situation like yours where you need to create hundreds of articles. Page Rewriter, Mike Martin's Page Rewriter. Again, the link's on the page below, guys. But that's also really good too, because what that does is it very much like Quillbot, it will rephrase everything. But what I like about it is you can put a keyword in and set a location, and it will go scrape the top 20 results, organic ranking results for that keyword in that location. And it breaks everything up in the sidebar into SEO titles or meta titles, heading tags, H1 headings, H2 headings, the paragraphs, all of that stuff. So you can literally go in there and just click the button and it will copy, and it breaks it up, not like the content body of one page is all together. No, it extracts individual paragraphs out. So what I like to do, and this is a strategy that we've been using more recently for like tier 1 assets or for link building content, is we'll go scrape content that is topically relevant, right? It's already ranking and optimized content that's ranking for the same type of search query that I'm going to be producing content for, right? So what I'll do is I'll go like search tree removal in a different city than where the content's going to be published for. And then I'll just mix and match headings. So different, H1s or H2s and H3s, really, different paragraphs that fit together, but are from different sources of the top 20 ranking results. And then in that same kind of page rewriter editor, then once you've kind of created the original article from other people's content, then you click the rephrase button and it just rewrites everything. And it becomes unique. And then the last step is just to go in and optimize for your specific location, right? So to swap out location mentions and things for the location. That's something that we've been doing, my team's been doing recently, and it works really good, especially for producing content for like tier 1 stuff and for link building, because it's much quicker than generating new content using an AI writing assistant. Again, all of the strategies that you mentioned are great, and they will absolutely work. I think it's a really good proposed process that you have here. I would just suggest you also take a look at Page Rewriter, because if you're doing a whole lot of content, especially around the same sort of topics, my blogger sent me an email about this specifically, no shit, because she's been working exclusively on tree service content for like the last 4 or 5 months. And she said it gets exhausting, right? Writing about the same topic over and over. And when she's not really writing as much anymore because of the AI writing assistants. And so I was like, okay, well, here's Quillbot and then here's Page Rewriter. These can help you to not have to produce as much content, because you can go find other content and rephrase it, rework it, kind of massage it to use for our own projects. So again, last part of this was number 4. He says video the whole process and have it outsource Kingpin methodology. And that, in my opinion, is the best. First of all, you have to develop the process through the first 3 steps that you mentioned. But once you do have a process that is working, then absolutely record it, create a process doc out of it, like what I do, and then outsource that shit, because just it's the exact same thing I did with my blogger with all these AI tools. Was I spent about 3 months of my own time testing and figuring out how to use them. And then I developed a process, and then I gave her the process, and she has taken over content for me almost 100%. I still play with the tools because I'm still sometimes need stuff and I'm testing stuff still, but she's taken over all of my content, like production, essentially, so that I don't have to do that. I can focus on higher level stuff. And that's where you should be as well, Ruggs. But at first, you have to develop the process for your team. Do so. And I think your suggestions here or proposed suggestions are good, a good start. What do you say, Marco?
I think that's a great start, except with some tweaks. Now, those 300 to 400 pieces of content, are you talking about these are all for the same website or for the same money site? And what you're going to do is you're going to produce local city variations of that content. Because then looking at this, you're going to have some kind of service or product plus city. When you're thinking about that, and I'll just give you the example, widgets. If you're going to be dedicated to selling or offering yellow widgets, well, you have to understand that the top entity or the top level category on this is actually widgets, not yellow widgets. Widgets would be a yellow widgets would be a subcategory of widgets, and you haven't yet gotten to the city, because you're going to also have related entities to this yellow widget, which is red, green, brown, purple, whatever color widgets. You're also going to have shape. You're also going to have what they cost. You're going to have a lot of different variations to this before you even get to the city. So the way to start thinking about this is the way that Google is categorizing the entity, with the top level entity, then the sub entity, then the supporting entities, and the related entities. And related entities also mean not just the yellow widgets that bring you money, but everything related to this widget entity. So that as you expand the entity, you are going to start, let's call it ranking, but you're going to start getting more action, because you're pushing for actually widget. You're trying to bubble up the entity widget, which would be like the brass, right? That brass ring that you're reaching for, but you're doing that by categorizing your content when you first start. You then go with the city element, which is not now this is location based. Before you even think about rewriting, you have all of these different pieces of content that you're adding to this entity to explain to Google whatever it is that you're doing, which should also be accompanied by schema. Of course, each one of these pages that you're setting up for this should be and have to be, even the supporting posts have to be accompanied by schema. Now, clustering is a fantastic, it's what we're talking about, clustering into yellow widgets and red widgets and green widgets, and the size of the widgets and the color, right? Not the color, but the size, the shape, the cost, whatever you can get. Then you get to the city. Now, when you have these together and you're going to start rewriting them, you can't forget a tool or software like Inlinks. Inlinks, Dixon Jones's software is fantastic for helping you expand that entity, for giving you even FAQ schema and additional entities, and the relationship to Wikipedia, where you can pull in where the AI, where Google's AI was actually trained, the NLP was actually trained, which is BERT. It helps you further define the information. All of the other software, I mean, use these in conjunction. Use Jarvis and use Surfer and use Phrase to help you further work out. But this is at the higher level when you're working on fleshing out that entity. When you're rewriting, then I mean, Bradley uses Mike Martin's software. I use Quillbot. I use Quillbot because once I have my content entity tuned, I don't want to touch my entities. I want them frozen. And Quillbot allows me to do this. And I can actually add entities to it. But the VAs are trained so that they can add or subtract entities as needed. But we know the ones that just cannot change, that need to be frozen. And Quillbot does a fantastic job of freezing these entities so that we keep adding that relevance for Google. So yeah, this is a fantastic way. And then, as you said, yes, the whole process, you need to create the process so that you can turn it over to somebody else to do for you, which is, I mean, it's exactly what we did. We took Jordan's presentation, POFU 2020, and we turned it into a process. We turned it over to a VA. She trained a couple other people. And then here we are today. She's writing fantastic content, which is entity tuned and using Quillbot to rewrite as many times as we need it and rephrase, while still supporting and keeping an eye on that main entity, because we can never take our eye off the prize and what it is that we need to do, which is push for that top level category, which is widget. We know we're not likely to rank for that, but everything else under that is at play. And eventually, if you add enough activity, relevance, trust, and authority, you will rank for widgets over time, of course, over time.
Yeah, to clarify, just to, I am definitely still, I'm using Quillbot Premium a lot. I just also have recently started using Page Rewriter also, and I just explained where there's some differences. I do absolutely like Quillbot a lot. I've been using Quillbot Premium for months, and it's been really, really good. So that is a great tool. There's no question. The only thing I was saying was that Page Rewriter, especially if you're doing a lot of content for tier one entity assets and link building content, I think, or like Magic Page, like mass page stuff, but Magic Page plugin builds, then Page Rewriter can help you to very quickly generate content that doesn't necessarily, it's not as important, in my opinion, at least through some of the testing that I've done. Look, I've said this before, if you treat your tier one content like it's money site content, you get way better results. There's no question about that. But what I'm saying is for like link building articles and stuff, it's okay to kind of create content out of other people's content very quickly and then just rephrase it. And what's interesting is put that stuff through Copyscape and you'll see like, it's interesting. I've done this with Quillbot and sometimes it'll come back with, like 30-35% common type. Like, in other words, it's showing that some of the phrases that have been rephrased and things have been published, but it's acceptable. But what I like about the Page Rewriter, especially for like link building articles and such, is that it will, or Magic Page stuff, is that I've done dozens of tests now. Well, probably about 20 times now that I've done it in where I've created an article that was other people's content and then rephrased it inside of Page Rewriter. And then I've taken it over to Copyscape Premium and pasted it in there to see. And it's come back unique every time, which is really interesting. So I agree with Marco, especially for money site content, that Quillbot is better because you can freeze entities or freeze words that are entities, so that they don't get rephrased, or I don't want to use the word spin, right? But rephrased with or swapped out with other synonyms. And I think that's important. I think for some, again, depending on where the content is going to be used, it might be a bit more efficient to use Page Rewriter in some cases. So that's all I'm saying. Again, I've got subscriptions to all of these tools, right?
Yep.
Because they're all great. They're all great tools and they all have their place. And you combine all these tools together and you can produce just amazing content. And we talked about this during POFU Live, but I mean, I think 70% of the ranking, and maybe it's always been this way, but I think 70% of the ranking battle right now is on Page. If you get that shit right, it just makes everything so much easier. So
dial it in, both code and content.
Totally.
And you win.
Totally agree. Okay, so Arby's got a shit ton of questions that there's no way we're going to get through all of these, nor would we, even if we had the time. Just Arby, just so you know, we appreciate the questions, buddy, but this much text wouldn't be fair to everybody else, even though fortunately there's not a lot of people below you right now. It's just too hard to get into this. And not only that, this is kind of borderline like consultation type stuff. This is stuff that we cover in either the mastermind in depth or in heavy hitter club. where it's much more involved types of questions. In a case like this, where we only have an hour and we're supposed to also be answering other people's questions, this is just too much. And I know you're trying to be helpful in some of these places as well. So again, I appreciate that. Not trying to run you off or anything like that. I just want you to know that that's a tad much for us to be able to get to. And it wouldn't be fair to anybody else posting questions underneath. So
Yeah.
I'll start at the top. Go ahead, Marco.
Just to give you my take on that, I don't see it as borderline. I see it completely as consultation and something I would charge a whole lot of money for, because it would take me time to give that the complete answer that it deserves and requires.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, like I said, we go into in-depth types of questions, really long form answers to long form questions.
Yeah.
And the Semantic Mastery Mastermind, every other week I do a mastermind webinar where I'm happy to dig into shit like this. I know Marco and Rob do the same in Heavy Hitter Club. And then also, if it's something specific, personal, sensitive, whatever, then that would become consultation time, like one-on-one consultation. But I'm going to take at least this first one because I read through it already, and I've got a pretty short answer for you, Arby. I'm not going to read this whole question, guys, just because it'll take me forever. But basically what he's asking is, does it make sense to create separate sites to target different areas if you're doing like local sort of SEO projects? Or does it make sense? Is it better to create categories, right, and expand on one site into other areas? And I'm pretty sure that Marco is going to say the same thing that I do, but it's always better, in my opinion, to start with a project that you brand, build some traffic and authority through, ranking in the immediate local area first, and then start expanding out on that site, because you instantly benefit from the traffic and authority, the strength of the entity that you've built through that first site. When you go to expand into other locations, right? You instantly benefit because the entity has been validated, solidified, been proven, it's gained authority. It just makes everything so much easier. And just case in point, even when I used to separate my multi-location brands into subdomains. So to be clear, years ago, we're talking, 8 years ago, and we at Semantic Mastery used to talk about creating for multi-location stuff, setting up separate WordPress sites on subdomains of the main branded domain. And there was a reason for that. And that was because at the time we were still doing a lot of spammy shit. And subdomains, if any one subdomain catches a penalty, it's isolated to that one subdomain. So essentially that one location site, right? That location optimized WordPress installation on a subdomain. And it wouldn't affect the root. The problem was if you were to catch a penalty where you had all of your locations as inner pages on one root domain, and you were to catch a penalty on one of those locations, then it would affect the root domain and all of the other locations. So we used to separate those through subdomains. But since Marco came out with the SEO Shield and what was originally RYS Academy and Drive Stacks and G Sites and all that kind of stuff, we don't do that anymore. Like I've actually taken multi-location brand projects that I've had for years and changed them, converted them from subdomains back onto now separate location landing pages on the root domain. And I did that because it's a lot easier to manage. And it's just, we don't do anything spammy anymore that I've had to worry about penalties. And for years, we haven't had to worry about it because we shield our money sites with the SEO Shield. So we don't really ever do anything that's going to catch a penalty. And we've made it through update after update after update and never had an issue. So again, years ago, I used to do the subdomains because I had built originally, 1 or 2 locations for this particular brand. But I had gotten authority and was able to rank in the maps pack and all that stuff. And so every time I wanted to add an additional location, I would just add a subdomain to that existing domain, optimized for the new location, and it would rank faster. It seemed like every subsequent location that I would add to the project was easier to rank. And it's because it would benefit from the brand authority that had already been built to the root domain. So that each time a new subdomain was added, it would inherit inherit some of the inherent authority, if that makes sense. So that's what I would do. I would recommend, building up the entity, strengthening the brand itself, and then starting to expand on that. I feel like you're going to get, I know you're going to get better results faster that way than if you try to start from scratch every single time. Right. And again, there's inertia with these types of projects. And so it's like a locomotive that's sitting still on a train tracks, like a freight train, right? So all those the cars and all that stuff, it takes an enormous amount of energy to get it to start moving. But once it starts moving, it takes just a fraction of the energy to keep it moving. It's the same sort of thing with websites, right? In my opinion, it takes an enormous amount of effort to get them up and starting to produce well. And then it just takes a fraction of the effort to add to it and have those start to benefit and start to produce well. A lot less effort than it does to start from scratch again in new locations. That's my take on it. Marco, what do you say?
Well, once I began looking into the ranking score algorithm, especially 2018, when they incorporated the PageRank algorithm, when they let the PageRank patent expire and incorporated the PageRank algorithm into the ranking score patent and ranking score algorithm. When we began to understand that and how Google is creating those relationships, not only seeing who is linking to you and who you're linking to and who all those are linking to, but how you're interlinking within, we began to understand the power that's building in. We were seeing it before that in Drive Stacks and G sites. We were seeing the type of power that you could actually rank a blank folder once you developed enough power with just the keyword. We began to understand that it was just so much better to keep everything under one branded umbrella, one branded entity. Then we began to understand entities and how they work and how Google is creating all of these associations, how it wants to know how everything is related. When you have all of these different entities outside, what you start doing is creating ambiguity so that Google doesn't know what the actual entity is. This way, it's crystal clear. Everything is within the same site and it's related through schema. And you're referencing the different nodes through your schema and you're referencing tier one and everything else that's related to it. Rob did a fantastic presentation in Powerful Live about this very subject, how everything is related so that we match the way that Google, the Google graphical database understands entities. So then if we understand the math, and we understand the algorithms, and we understand what's taking place, which is Google giving you a final ranking score for that website, why would you not add to your ranking score rather than begin a new ranking score elsewhere, which you would then add to what's already existing, so that now it's linear when you do it that way. It's just one link rather than exponential, how it's supposed to be when you do it within the same website. And you do it correctly, the way that we show how to build infinite power. We show that. I mean, we've taken a year to explain that in the Heavy Hitter Club, how this all works together, how it's all, you can't separate it. Because there's at least 8 or more algorithms at play that we're targeting, but all you have to worry about is activity, relevance, trust, and authority. I broke it down years ago into activity, relevance, trust, and authority. And then we began to explain it. We began to explain the math and how it all fits together. So what you're talking about separating it, and he says, Mike Martin blithely says, no, he's right.
Yeah.
Start and let it grow like a weed. But you grow that weed. You feed it. And you plant more of that weed with that location relevance and link build into it and do everything that you're supposed to. So he's absolutely right in that respect. That's how you do it.
Totally agree. Again, totally agree. And it's funny because, I like Mike Martin's style for his magic page sites and everything. It's funny, but there's the next question that I'm going to get to, because we got to wrap up in a couple minutes anyways, guys. And again, RB, appreciate the questions. And he posted below, by the way, Marco, he says, no problem, guys. I get it. He's got the laughing face. So that's cool. Well, we appreciate it, RB. But BuzzFry says, hey, gents, first off, thanks, Bradley, for the gmbprocess.com. yeah, guys, if you don't have the GMB process checklist, just go to gmbprocess.com and you can get it. You got to opt in to get it, but check it out. It works. It works really well. So he says, now to my questions. Are you actively trying to index location pages with Magic Page plugin? Mike Martin says he doesn't proactively attempt to index the newly created location pages, such as requesting indexing via Google Search Console or any other methods. What's your stance? Thanks as always. Yeah, that I diverge. My opinion diverges from Mike Martin's at that right there about that specifically. And here's why, because I use Google Search Console's data to help me be, get better results in whatever projects I'm working on, because it provides so much data, right? It's like, and Magic Page sites, I think, are perfect for discovery. Like if you just go out and there's a project, a keyword that you want to target, and if you set up a Magic Page site and you target that keyword and, some location modifiers and all that kind of stuff, and you publish it out there and just, not even trying to rank it, but just what I like to do is connect it to Search Console. And once the pages start to index, whether you force that through submitting a sitemap or requesting individual URLs to be indexed or whatever. By the way, Omega Indexer is a great indexing service for indexing stuff too. That's also, I've had really, really good results with Omega Indexer. But what I'm saying is I'd like to take like these types of mass page sites or Magic Page plugin sites and connect them to Google Search Console. And then just you have to give it some time for things to start getting found and being indexed by Google. But then you can go in and do a query, go to performance and then go to the query search tab, and you can start to identify search queries, phrases that have given pages from the Magic Page site impressions. And I really don't care that much about where they're ranking, but what I want to see is like how many impressions particular phrases are getting, because that for me, especially in a new market where I don't understand perhaps the keyword sets as much, it gives me like insight, right? It gives me the intel on which keyword phrases are getting a lot of search volume in search. So, and again, the Search Console data will show that. And then if you check the box to show average ranking, if you imagine just publishing a Magic Page site where you're not doing any additional SEO to it, but you find phrases that are getting a high volume of search queries, like so impressions, and essentially, and then you also have pages that are ranking fairly well for not doing any additional SEO work to them, then those become your low-hanging fruit, your opportunities where you can go out and maybe publish a better site to target those specific phrases in those specific locations, or go maybe like, and when I say a better Magic Page type site, where you spend more time in it, you also start maybe doing some backlinking, add the SEO shield to it, all the stuff that we talk about. Or you could go out and build a more traditional web asset that might not be a Magic Page, but use. And so just to clarify what I mean, Magic Page sites can be great on the front end as the discovery, right? To identify these low-hanging fruit opportunities that don't require a lot of additional work to get really good results from, where then you can go build a traditional web asset like a normal WordPress site. You optimize for those terms and those areas so that you can rank them, and then add Magic Page to that site and build out the location pages surrounding it, or target some of the other terms, as we just talked about at length, Marco and I both, about how if you build a traditional web asset, that you start to build the authority to that entity and you start to gain some traffic and some traction with that site, then you add Magic Page to that site and then build the location pages out to start expanding from that site. So again, it's a really a three-step process. Step one, Magic Page that's connected to Search Console so that you can use it for discovery. Then build out a traditional web asset if you so choose, which is kind of the route that I'm going, to target what you've identified as opportunities. And then once that starts to rank, then you go back and add Magic Page to that more traditional built website to build out location pages to target either additional terms or additional locations around that, so that you start to grow like a weed, like Mike Martin says. So again, that's just a method that I like to use. I like using Search Console for all my sites, guys. I know that he doesn't do that, and that's fine. But particularly me, and I know Marco likes to use Google Search Console for a ton of data and insight as well. So Marco, I'll let you finish up, comment on that as well, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Because I don't use the Magic Page plugin. When we do mass page websites, they get submitted to Search Console. Mass page, I don't care if it's 500,000 pages that we build. they're getting submitted for indexing, man. Now what we're doing though is kind of drip feeding. So instead of doing 500,000 all at once, drip feeding them over time so that they index, they get better indexation. But if it's 10, 15,000, they're getting submitted for indexing. I want them indexed, and I want them indexed for as long as possible.
Totally agree, man. I mean, Search Console is a wealth of information, guys. You know, and it's funny because Marco and I both did some training during POFU Live specifically about how to use Search Console and like how we use it for our own projects. It's crazy. So we're both on the same page there as well. So, well, again, everybody, I hope everybody got a lot out of today. Marco, we love you, buddy. Best wishes to you, man. And I'm sure we'll be doing some more stuff in the future together.
It's been one, and I'm going to keep on living the life I live. POFU or bust.
Amen.